All right, so today is an exciting day. I just got a new shipment from US Cutters. I got a new vinyl cutter. We're going to be putting my trusty Cameo 34T to rest. It has been a great cutter over the last year. For what I am doing, I am maxing it out a little much and using it outside of its intended use. I've made a lot of money with this thing. It's worked great for the most part, but I think it was time to step up to a big boy cutter. So in the background, you're going to see I just purchased a Prismcut P28. I got a stand and a starter kit. You can see some of the vinyl over there is a starter kit from US Cutters. I could have done without the package with the vinyl and transfer tape and that stuff since I have all that already, but it was cheaper for me to buy it in the package with everything. So the package that I bought was on sale for $8.99. It was the 28-inch cutter, it was the stand, and it was the welcome package with like 5 rolls of common colors, some transfer tape, a knife, and that kind of stuff. I got it on sale for $8.99. It was about $100 off, as well as I used a code that gave me $50 off. So everything came down to $8.50, then plus tax and shipping came back up to, I think it was $9.32 for the whole package. There is not any information on this Prismcut machine out there other than a couple very short once-over videos from US Cutter. So we're going to go ahead and do an unboxing on this. I'm going to get it set up just for this video, and then videos coming after that are going to be how I feel about the cutter. There's going to be a significant learning curve going from something simple as a hobbyist cutter like a Cameo up to a, I want to say it's a step down from a commercial cutter, a small step down from a commercial cutter, but it is a higher grade, you know, above hobbyist level. So there's going to be a big step up in performance and learning curve with that, as well as going from Silhouette Studio to Vinyl Master, I think it is that it comes with. So I'm going to kind of have to learn some new stuff. So it may take a little bit of trial and error to get this up and running and get it working and making money again. But this is what I'm going to record, is what it's like going from a simple hobbyist setup up to a more closer to a commercial grade setup. So that way you guys know what you're in for when you spend a little bit more money for a bigger cutter, as well as get into a little bit more big boy software that doesn't lay everything out for you as easily. So let's go ahead and unbox it. I'll show you guys what everything came with, and then we'll get it set up and go from there. All right, so I already unpackaged the you know, starter kit. Again, I could have done without this, but whatever. I would have rather saved $50. But I give you two 12 by 24 magnets. Again, they give you 24-inch tall rolls of vinyl. I got 5 colors in there. Looks like it was maybe, you know, black, white, green, yellow, and maybe there's some orange in there. 2 6-inch rolls of transfer tape. You got both paper stuff and the clear stuff with the grids. I've tried this clear stuff with the grids before. I really like it. I use R-Tape Conform for all my stuff, which is a paper tape like this, probably just a much better one. It's a love-hate relationship with that stuff. I really did like this kind of tape. It's just not big enough to really do anything with for me, so probably won't be using it much. I'll probably give it to my mom or something. And it just got a utility knife. Again, I have a nice knife that I use. I would have rather saved $50 on this stuff, but you know, that's kind of how it goes with packages. So you're gonna see the Prismcut on the bottom here, and you're gonna see the stand up top. So let's go ahead and get these unboxed. And just like everything else, you're gonna see a cat walk by. The cats are always the star of the show. And let's go ahead and pop this open. Alright, so you got your receipt from US Cutter. No idea what that is. Probably some paperwork. I don't know why they would put that in an envelope, but we can go ahead and see what that is. Okay, so first thing you're going to see is they give you a 15 by 15 cutting mat. Put that to the side. Those are nice to have. I try not to use the cutting mats, but they are nice to have sometimes for heat transfer vinyl. Got a little bit of a start here type thing on initially setting up your Prismcut. We'll take a look at that in a little bit more detail a little bit later. You have a box of tools. So you're going to have your USB cable. You're going to have a pen. You have your blades, power cable, and this is probably a brick for the power cable. I am probably not going to be using the USB cable. I'm going to try and keep it actually where it's situated now and just run it over Wi-Fi. That was one of the deals. One of the main reasons that I got this one was because it had Wi-Fi. It was a little bit cheaper than the Titan 3, and for me, the fact that it had Wi-Fi was kind of the seal in the deal. Got your user manual, and we have Prismcut in here. Prismcut up on the box here. It's unwrapped. And looks like they did do pretty good packaging. They did have a sign on the front of the box that said this side up. Of course, the UPS guy did not deliver it with that side up. So hopefully everything was fine. Looks like it was packaged very well. Everything was zip tied in here with the motor head and with the pinch rollers, so nothing should have moved. Alright, so there it is in all its glory. This is a nice looking unit, sleek unit. Again, similar to the Cameo, if you've ever seen one. It has a nice LCD display, full color display, which is nice. Nice white with you know, brushed aluminum. Everything looks pretty sleek. And again, it is nice and aesthetically pleasing. I'm going to try and set it up on the stand right there and then kind of keep this section open for being able to cut vinyl. As you can see, everything's a mess here right now with the COVID. I'm working from home and I have way more crap in this room than I need right now. So another thing was getting my cutter off of the desk, making more space, keep my heat press up here instead. And then have the cutter off to the side. I may get some kind of cart over here for the heat press as well, but we will see how that goes once we get closer to that point. Let's go ahead and unbox the stand for this, and then we'll get everything put together. Okay, now we're going to get the stand unboxed. And the reason why I picked the package and got all that extra crap, because actually I did save money going with the package. If I bought the cutter itself, I want to say it was $8.49, and then this was another $100, so it was cheaper for me to buy it in the package, especially with that $50 off. So you're gonna have your legs, you're gonna have your rollers for the vinyl. I thought that these were ball bearing or something, but they're not. If you see these, they're just kind of aluminum and they're bolted in with a bolt there. Some of the other ones I saw from US cutters were ball bearing. These are probably the brackets for the rollers. You got a wrench, some feet, some hardware, some kind of instructions to put it together. And you have the frame that the Prismcut actually bolts to. And another piece of frame, I'm not sure what that is. Let's go ahead and check out the instructions. We'll get this put together. Okay, so Prismcut did supply some really good instructions. Very simple. Start from the bottom up. Everything is labeled and shows a pictorial of what all the bolts and pieces look like and how to bolt it into the bottom of the Prismcut. So I already got the legs started, got them bolted into the feet, and we'll go ahead and do a time lapse of putting the rest together. That way you guys don't have to be too bored watching this whole thing. Alright, so for the most part this thing went together very well. The only thing I do not like is if you can see where the screws go into the bottom of the printer or the cutter to hold it into the base. The washers are actually too small to fit in that slot, so they actually pull into the slot and don't really hold it. So thank God I had a few extra washers. I'm going to go ahead and double these up, and I'm going to do that, and that should give it enough circumference to actually hold that cutter on there a little bit better. Now it is set up, and if you can see, the larger washers are larger circumference, and they're actually holding in those slots. So the only thing I would suggest to Prismcut is when they design these, it's a little weird that they use those really tiny screws to be able to hold that $1,000 cutter onto this frame. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more robust hardware, considering everything else was pretty robust. But otherwise, that went together pretty damn easily. I know you guys are probably, somebody's going to give me a hard time. It's guaranteed somebody's going to be like, oh, why, Pete, why didn't you use a drill, or why didn't you use an impact? Well, number one, not everybody has a drill or an impact. I do. I work on stuff, yes, I have that, but not everybody else has that. So I want to show you guys how easily this stuff is to put together for any random person who doesn't have tools other than a screwdriver and, you know, these little chauncey tools that they give you, an Allen wrench and a regular crescent wrench. Number two, I don't like to use drills and impacts on unknown origin hardware. Now, what that means is this hardware is probably from China. So very likely, if I would use an impact or a drill on that, I probably would have stripped out the hardware. And again, guys, I just spent like $1,000 on this stuff. I'm not trying to dick up all this hardware. So those are the two reasons I did this the hard way with a screwdriver and hand tools. But again, you know, I'm trying to give you guys a real world scenario. So now you're going to see you got zip ties up on the motor assembly and on the pinch rollers. We'll go ahead and cut those off, and we'll power this thing on and go through directions and see what we have to do to set this up and calibrate. Okay, so another thing I noticed now that I have the rollers on, again, some of the other US cutter stuff, it seemed like these rollers were on ball bearings. These are not. These just have like an aluminum piece in there, and it just sits inside the bar and spins around on that with a bolt through it. Yeah, it'll probably work. It's just not as smooth. I might loosen these up a little bit with the screws on the end, see if I can get them smoother, because any restriction on that is going to cause feed issues. This one goes smooth, so I'll see if loosening that up will fix it. The other thing too, and a lot of the other US cutter stands, hey Karma, she likes to check stuff out when I'm setting it up. On a lot of the other US cutter stands, they have the material catcher down at the bottom. I don't know why this one didn't come with one. I don't know if that's specifically a Prismcut thing, but I will contact US Cutter to see if that is something that I can get, because I think I will enjoy having something like that. And again, I was under the impression that it came with something like that just because all their other ones do. So inside this package I was talking about earlier is actually the Vinyl Master product key. So that's what was in there. We're going to go ahead and plug it in. I was just kind of looking over this briefly. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but I'm going to plug it in, see how easy it is to get on Wi-Fi without reading the instructions. Then if it's a problem, I'll come back and say why I had a problem and what the instructions tell you to do. But it should be pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and plug in power and rock and roll. All right, let's do the first power up. See the nice ambient lighting that it has. And we want to do Wi-Fi. We're going to do yes. Hopefully it picks up my network. I think I saw somebody else say it takes about 30 seconds to pick up the network, maybe. Okay, so it does pick up the network. It does not pick up my 5 gig network, only picks up my 2.5 gig. So we'll go ahead and select that and do select, and we'll go ahead and put in my password, which you're not going to see. Okay, so I finally got my password in correctly, and it's been pausing for probably about 15 seconds or so, telling me to wait. And shows connected. Okay, so it's got an IP address, and I guess we go home and we're good to go. Okay, so they at least do give you some instructions on putting the blade in and adjusting the carriage head. So that's cool. Shows you where to adjust the pinch rollers, all that, and where all your important things are. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this. We have our blade holder and our blades in here. Comes with two 45-degree blades, one 60-degree blade. So basically we are going to loosen the bronze ring counterclockwise. And let's see here, adjust the blade depth. Okay, so this bottom one is to adjust this all the way out. Top one is to adjust the blade depth. And we want to push in this plunger here and then push the blade in. So let's see if we can get the blade out. And there's a locking mechanism in there somewhere. Let it go, and you will see that the blade is just ever so barely sticking out. The way they say to do this is to get the blade out about the half width of a credit card. Let's go ahead and see if I can find a credit card to do that with, and we'll get it adjusted properly. All right, so I got it adjusted about the half height of a credit card, and if the camera will focus, which it will not, because my camera is just not going to get that kind of detail. Basically, you're not going to see anything of that blade, just a tiny hair of that blade coming out. So you would not realize how thin a credit card truly is, let alone half height of that credit card. So basically, this thing's going to be backed out pretty far, the top one, and then you just go ahead and tighten the brass ring to lock down. Yeah. And you just lock down the blade, and that's apparently all you want to see out of it. If you do have your blade too deep, you'll cut through the backing paper, cut into your strip on the cutter, and cause all kinds of other problems. So now that this is adjusted, we'll go ahead and get this into the machine here. And we will drop that in. We'll have to loosen this up a bit, I guess. All right, that's loosened up, and it is in the blade holder. All right, so as far as I know, this should be pretty much set up, ready to cut. Apparently I was wrong. You actually have to push down on this. This is where it would help to read the instructions. Push down on that, and you'll see that it lifted the pinch rollers up, and you actually just push down this way with 2 fingers. You want to make sure you push with 2 fingers so you don't misalign it, and you just want it to line up with the pinch rollers on the bottom. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and test load some material that I have. This is a 12-inch roll. We're going to go ahead and get that loaded in now that I have the pinch rollers lined up. We have pressure off of the pinch rollers. This is down, and we'll feed it up through and do a test feed. Got the vinyl loaded in place, and I probably got this quite a bit crooked. Let's try and even it out. Alright, now we got it pretty straight. Let's move this back, and let's see if we can feed it and see how it feeds. Alright, so the roller mechanism may be a little bit of a problem. It's going to be a learning curve. Let's see if we can figure this out. Alright, I was able to get this roller rolling better now. They're both, well, now this one's a little bit tight. Basically, the arms were bent in a little bit. So the end one wasn't that bad, but the inside one was getting pinched. Now I bent them out a little bit, and now the end one's getting pinched. So now maybe I'll just bend in a little bit on the inside of these roller brackets and see if I can get them both nice and smooth. Okay, pushing a little bit on the ends now, and they're both rolling pretty smooth now. So hopefully that'll help with feeding that roll. I'm not too sure yet. I'm definitely gonna have to play around with this a little bit. So we'll be back after I mess around and I can do a test cut. Another thing I happen to notice here, just by dumb luck looking at this, the feet on this are kind of pigeon-toed in the front and out in the back. So the stand is a little bit janky, I guess. I probably need to bend that around a little bit more there too. Another thing that I'm probably going to wish is I'm going to wish that this actually had casters, some kind of rollers on this rather than those feet, because the problem is I'm not going to want to always be reaching around the back to load it and then looking down up here and feeding it. I'm probably going to want to spin it out a little bit. So I don't know how much this is going to work for how I wanted to do. I'm going to see if maybe I can retrofit some kind of casters on there. Again, this is something that I can ask US Cutters at some point. I'm sure that I can probably do something like that, but this is I guess a somewhat newer machine. I don't know how many of these they actually sold to be able to give support on, but you know, we can go ahead and ask. Alright guys, we're going to try and cut this video right here. I do have some other video footage from later on in the process. I'm going to go ahead and cut that stuff, and we're going to do videos along the way. I realize that it will make the videos a little bit shorter and a little bit more engaging. So we're going to stop it here and consider this the initial setup, the putting together, and initial information on how I feel about the unit physically as a whole before we start using it. Stay tuned to the series. We'll make a playlist for using the Prismcut, and then all the little caveats of using this unit and the Vinyl Master software along the way, and what differences I found between Vinyl Master and Silhouette Studio, which you're going to find has been a little bit of a learning curve, and we'll get into that in future videos. Again, guys, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.